Hey YouTubers, this is going to be a fairly long video, but I assure you that all of the information is extremely important and is worth being heard, and I don't want to like poo-poo my other videos, but this is probably one of the more important videos that I will do on this channel, so please stay tuned, and well, thank you for doing that. I hope you will do that. Okay, as the title suggested, this video is about ableism. For those of you who do not know what that is, I will give you a few definitions, and then we will move right along to the actual content of the video. So if you just type ableism into Google, you get this: ableism, noun, discrimination in favor of able-bodied people. Let me close that and we'll go to Wikipedia. Ableism, also known as ableism, disableism, disability discrimination, and handicapism, is discrimination and social prejudice against people with disabilities. Ableism characterizes a persons as defined by their disabilities and as inferior to the non-disabled. On this basis, people are assigned or denied certain perceived abilities, skills, and or character traits. Okay, so this is a website called stopableism.org. They define it as the practices and dominant attitudes in society that devalue and limit the potential of persons with disabilities. And last but not least, Urban Dictionary, which is famous for having definitions for modern slang. They define ableism as the discrimination or prejudice against people who have disabilities. Ableism can take the form of ideas and assumptions, stereotypes, attitudes and practices, physical barriers in the environment, or larger scale oppression. And this next part is important. It is oftentimes unintentional, and most people are completely unaware of the impact of their words or actions. And I've found that for the most part that is true. For the most part, people just don't realize that they're being ableist. Okay. Excuse me. So the first one, so this, I got ahead of myself. The idea for this video actually came about because of a series of Facebook posts that I did. 5 separate posts with 20 actual ableist things that people have said to me or done to me. And there's actually been many more than that, but I've just done these 20 so far, and I will tell you a couple of others that have happened that I haven't done posts about yet. But so without further ado, the first post I called Ableist Things I've Been Told, Part 1. And the first one on my list actually came about because of someone who claimed to be a nurse from Canada that messaged me on this YouTube channel about, it was very close to when I started the channel, so maybe 2011, around there. And I was talking to her about an upcoming trip I was going to take to Europe and the flight, and she said, quote, "Wheelchair users can't make a trip like that. It's too long and you'd need to go to the bathroom at some point," unquote. She was convinced that there was no way that an airline would allow me to use the bathroom by myself, which I knew to be untrue because I had taken flights and done that already. And on that trip, I was able to do it. And on every trip since then, I was able to do it, and no steward or stewardess ever complained. There was absolutely no problem ever using the bathroom. Okay, 2 is, when talking with random girls or women, this has happened plenty of times. Quote, "You'd be so hot if it weren't for the wheelchair." Or, quote, You're so good looking. It's too bad about the wheelchair. Unquote. And another one. Quote, if it weren't for the wheelchair, I would be all over you. End quote. Third, so this happened when I was in college, and it was my first semester, and the head of the music and theater department, I had a meeting with him, and he said to me, quote, it will probably take you 6 years to graduate. I doubt you'll be able to handle the workload. End quote. I graduated in 4 years, and I had the highest GPA of all music majors. Okay, ableist things I've been told, part 2. Number 4. After auditioning for a musical, I was told this, quote, if it were just based on talent, we would have cast you in the show. We don't want a wheelchair in our production, though. End quote. Okay, number 5, I get from random people every so often. Quote, I would rather be dead than have to use a wheelchair for the rest of my life. End quote. I'm not really sure how people think that's a nice thing to say. It's really an incredibly dickish thing to say and can't possibly make anyone feel good. Okay, so number 6. This got from a girl I went out with a couple of times a long time ago. Quote, you seem great, but I like going camping and doing other outdoorsy things. You wouldn't be able to do that stuff, so it isn't going to work out. End quote. Never mind the fact that I do rock climbing, kayaking, snorkeling, bodybuilding. I have gone camping several times, and that was a completely unfounded statement. Okay, number 7. This is just random people that see me grocery shopping or eating lunch at a restaurant or doing any kind of mundane thing around town. Quote, wow, you are so brave. End quote. Not brave, not for just like eating lunch or buying groceries or getting gas in my car. Those are things everybody has to do to live. Okay, number 8, also from random people. This one is another one, like, I don't understand how people think this makes anyone feel good. Quote, I feel so sorry for you. End quote. You shouldn't feel sorry for me. My life is pretty damn amazing. I don't really want for anything. I have a house in Florida. I have a house in New Jersey. I don't have to work for a living. I get to, like, spend my time doing musical theater, playing guitar, playing piano, I'm going on vacations. My life is pretty damn great. And I actually get that said to me, I get that comment on a lot of videos on this channel. Number 9, not anything, okay, so this is not anything specific that people have said, but some women seem to think that because I have a disability that I would be subservient in a relationship. And I suppose there are men that might think this also, but I'm not interested in men in a romantic way, so I haven't really encountered that. Sip of water now. Okay, excuse me. So number 10, this is a good one. Some guy that I met just like, it was outside a restaurant actually, here in Florida. He gave me a trophy just because I don't like sit at home and mope all the time, and I go about my life and I do things, and I'm not like a helpless invalid that just lays in bed all the time. Gave me a trophy just for that, which is incredibly insulting, and I smashed the shit out of that trophy with a friend of mine, and it felt really good because that guy was a dick. Okay, so then I changed it from ableist things that people have said to just ableism. So, ableism, part 3. This is a good one too. Number 11, when boarding a plane, the pilot said to me, quote, and he had this like worried look on his face. He was just like, well, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Quote, you won't be able to transfer to your seat. There's an armrest in the way. End quote. I've done rock climbing again, bodybuilding, kayaking. I'm super duper athletic in and out of my chair. I do choreography and musicals, like just very, very ableist. Okay, 12. Oh yeah, went out with my friends or family or a girlfriend, etc. Other people talk to them about issues that involve me. So they might say to whoever I'm with, excuse me, what's the best way for him to transfer? Or at a hotel, what kind of room would you like for him? Whereas I was the person like talking to the individual. Or, excuse me, can he walk at all? There's no reason that people can't just ask me those questions, especially when I'm the person that initiates the conversation and then they purposely go to the person I'm with and talk to them. Just, that's incredibly ableist and really, really, really foolish. Okay, so 13, this is a long-ish one. I went to a hotel in France with my then girlfriend. She had booked the hotel online and the website said that it was completely accessible. When we arrived there there were between 10 and 15 steps to get to the reception desk. I can't speak English, apparently. My ex-girlfriend went to the desk and said, your website said the hotel was completely accessible. The person at the desk said, well, it is. My girlfriend at the time said, my boyfriend uses a wheelchair though. How is he supposed to get in? They said, oh, well, we'll help him. And she said, helping him in does not make your hotel accessible. What about when people with disabilities come alone? And they said, oh, that's never happened before. It's actually laughable. Some of these things, just people don't realize how ableist their language and their behavior is. Okay. Ableism, part 4. Oh, this is a good one. Number 14. After a previously inaccessible building that I frequented was made accessible, someone said to me regarding the situation, quote, do you feel spoiled now? End quote. Do I feel spoiled? Because I can get into a building that every other person can get into, but I couldn't for years? And again, I really don't think people are saying these things to be mean. I just think they don't understand. Although we will get to some that people did because they were being mean. Okay, so number 15. Prior to my attendance at a local school, my parents were made aware that there was, quote, a list of other schools that Joseph could attend, end quote. And no one had even met me. No one at the school had even met me at that point. They had just heard that there was a wheelchair user in the county that might go to their school, or that wanted to go to their school, or that my parents wanted me to go to their school. There was no reason for them to think that I couldn't go there or shouldn't go there. They were just afraid, and they were being ableist. And that was before the ADA was made law. So, I mean, it's gotten better since then, but a lot of these ableist things happened after the ADA was enacted. Number 16. I'm not sure why this is a thing, but people tend to think that everyone with a disability understands a lot about other disabilities. I can't count how many times people have asked me questions about spina bifida, polio, or MS. I maybe assuming that one of those is the cause of my disability or that I have knowledge about them. I'm not really sure like where the logic is for that. But again, it's ableist. It's essentially like saying if someone meets a Jewish person and another person says, "Oh, my friend is Jewish. Do you know them?" It's like, why that, you know, there's no connection there. There's no reason to think that I would know things about spina bifida, polio, MS, or any other disability or illness that's out there. Just I don't even know everything there is to know about my disability. Let's put it that way. Okay, and so the last one, Ableism Part 5. So this number 17 happened. This actually happened after a relationship of mine had ended, and the mother of the girl I was seeing said this, quote, "It's good that you broke up. Your disability would make her life more difficult." End quote. I'm hoping that she didn't understand what she was saying, because if she did, that's an incredibly hurtful thing to say. Okay, 18. When my sister needed minor surgery on her big toe back when we were, she was like 12, I was 10, or she was 11, I was 9, something like that. My mom and dad and I accompanied my sister to the hospital, and when we got there, several nurses thought that I was the patient. Again, simply because I'm a wheelchair user. But that's ableist behavior, ableist thoughts. Okay, so after number 19, after my first girlfriend and I broke up, one of her complaints was this, quote, "You couldn't even carry my luggage when we went on vacation together." End quote. Again, I mean, she definitely said that because she wanted to be hurtful, but that is incredibly ableist. Okay, so 20. When I was 16, I was kicked out of a Christian ska concert by security because my wheelchair was deemed hazardous to the other concert goers. This makes very little sense, especially when you consider that I was escorted down to the floor of the arena, where my friends were, by the same security guards prior to the event starting, and when I was forced to leave, there wasn't even any music playing, and there was no dancing, so there was no possible way that I was hazardous to anyone at that point, and even if there had been music and dancing, there was still no reason to force me to leave. So what was going on at that time? Well, Christian ska concert. The band that was on stage was leading a prayer. A prayer. So everyone in the arena was sitting or standing and praying. I was kicked out of a Christian ska concert while people were praying. Not only that, but I was unable to tell my friends that I was told to leave the arena, so they were very confused about where I had gone off to. And the only reason I was at the concert in the first place was to hang out with my friends. I would never go to a Christian ska concert on my own. It was because, like, 15 of my friends from high school were there, and I wanted to hang out with them. And I've been on the floor of many, many, many other arenas and nightclubs during concerts that were way, way more rowdy and loud and dangerous, and not once did I ever have any issue. That was, without a doubt, the most humiliating event of my entire life. I felt awful for weeks after that. Okay, so those are all the ones I have for I have posts about on Facebook already. But there are at least one or two others that I am probably going to post about at some point. One of them is that a health club or gym, it was like a gym and a health club together, that I used to go to in New Jersey I even went there for about, I guess, six or 7 years. No. Oh, no, you know what? I think it was close to 8 years. So I'd been going there for about 8 years, and they were doing major renovations, and the place was enormous, and there was only one accessible bathroom on the first floor. There was only one accessible bathroom on the second floor. So anyway, on the first floor, the one accessible bathroom was in the locker room, which was, I don't even know, it was like maybe half of a football field away from the gym area with the free weights and machines and stuff like that. And there was another bathroom in that area, but it wasn't accessible. Now, the reason it wasn't accessible is because the door opened in instead of out. If it opened out, I would be able to get my wheelchair in and close the door, but because it opened in, if I put my wheelchair in, the door would hit my wheelchair. So when they were doing these major renovations, I asked them if they could simply reverse the hinges on the door so that it would open out instead of in, and they refused. It would have taken them probably less than 2 minutes to make the change, which would have made the bathroom completely accessible, but they refused. And again, excuse me, they were doing major renovations at the time. Oh, pardon me. And I've actually asked 2 theater groups that I've worked with down here in Florida to do the same thing, because the men's bathroom backstage had the same issue. The door opened in instead of out, which means I can get in, but it means that anyone can see me peeing or pooing or whatever I'm doing in there. Hopefully only peeing or so I asked each one of the theater groups I've worked with down here to reverse the hinges, and you know what? They did it. And one of the theater groups had it done again in less than 5 minutes. I asked them, I was talking to someone, they came back and they said, it's done. And I was just like, wow, I actually had a gym that I had been paying a lot of money each month to for almost 8 years. I had a gym refuse to do that. Meanwhile, these 2 theater groups that were making no money off me both did it without any like pressure. So yeah, that's another ableist thing that's happened to me. And the last one I can think of right now is that when I was very young, I was taking a plane trip with my parents. Oh, excuse me. And the flight, for whatever reason, something happened, and they were unable to put my wheelchair on the same flight that I was on with my parents, and we had to make a stop, which meant that on the stop we didn't have my wheelchair. So my dad had to carry me all the way to the next plane instead of me being able to use my wheelchair to go from the first plane to the second plane. And they didn't even have another wheelchair that I could use. It's just, and the issue also was that they acted like it wasn't a big deal. And I've also had several friends that use wheelchairs have had their wheelchairs lost by airlines. It's almost unfathomable. Like, these are things that I wouldn't believe if they didn't actually happen to me, but they have. So anyway, moral: really think about your behavior, think about your words, try not to be ableist. Hopefully this video has been insightful and entertaining, and thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time. Hey again there, YouTubers. A short little addendum to the original part of this video. I forgot to mention two things, one incident and something about ableist language. So I'll get to them right now. The incident was several years ago here in Florida. I went to a movie, one of the Hobbit movies, with my sister and a friend of ours. And the theater was about half full, I guess. But the wheelchair accessible seating areas were all taken. There were 3 areas for accessible seating, and 2 of them, so basically it's 2 regular chairs and then an open area for wheelchair. 2 regular chairs, an open area for wheelchair. 2 regular chairs, open area for wheelchair. Is that 3? I lost count. Anyway. So all of the regular seats were taken, and in 2 of the wheelchair areas, there were wheelchairs, which is, you know, perfectly fine. So the place where there were the regular seats were taken, but there were no wheelchairs, we asked those people if they would move to another seat, to other seats, I mean, so that I could sit with my companions, my sister and our friend. And it was a man and a child, and they refused to move. And that was the first time that that has ever happened to me. I mean, I've been on mass transit, buses, trains, and I've had, like, you know, little old ladies get up and move when I get on the bus or train, and I'm like, you know, no, you deserve this seat as much as I do. But they move, and they really don't have to. But these were 2 people, and they did not have any disability. They just said they didn't feel like moving. So that was very strange. So what ended up happening is my sister and our friend helped me down a couple of steps to the front of the movie theater, and we sat in the very first row, which meant I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own. I had to get them to help me back up the steps if I needed to go to the bathroom, and at the end of the movie I needed them to help me back up the steps again. And what I didn't realize is I should have gone outside of the actual theater into the lobby and asked for an attendant to come in, because I just recently went there again to see the new live action Beauty and the Beast movie. And there's a sign posted in the lobby, and it says, patrons that do not have disabilities must move if it is requested by someone with a disability to sit in those areas. So I don't know if we didn't realize that at the time, or if we just didn't want to cause a problem, but it was just a very, very strange and very ableist thing for those people to do. Okay, so with that out of the way, I just want to mention one more thing about ableist language, and this is something that I feel like almost everybody is guilty of, including myself. I didn't even realize this for the longest time, but saying something like, oh, that party was so lame, or you like that band? They're so lame. Or like, oh, my mom is so out of touch with the style these days. She's so lame. The word lame used in that sense is extremely ableist, because the actual definition of lame has to do with having a disability, specifically a disability involving the legs. And I've definitely said that myself, and I didn't even realize it until one day my sister mentioned it to me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's true. I mean, it could be, not everyone that has a disability is going to find that word offensive, and for the most part I don't, but I don't like the fact that people use it without realizing what it actually means. Okay, so thanks for watching this little snippet, and I'll see you again next time.